We talk about feedback. Feedback tells performers how well they performed or are performing. It can focus on knowledge of results or knowledge of performance and can be intrinsic or extrinsic, positive or negative. Types of feedback. In sport, feedback is information the performer receives about a skill or performance. It usually comes from the coach or the performers themselves. There are various different types of feedbacks in sport, and they can tend to come in pairs. Continuous and terminal feedback. Feedback received during a skill or performance is called continuous feedback. So it's during a skill is continuous feedback. Feedback received after the completion of a skill or performance is called terminal feedback. So that's after you have finished performing. Intrinsic and extrinsic feedback. Intrinsic feedback is the physical feel of the movement as it's being performed. It is what is felt by the performer as they execute a skill or performance. So it is what they have felt. Intrinsic comes from within, comes from the person themselves. Extrinsic feedback is provided by external sources during or after a performance. It can come from a teacher, a coach, a teammate, another player. It includes things that the performer can hear or see. So in extrinsic, it could be a coach shouting, "You haven't passed that ball very well. You need to hit it with the side of your foot." Okay. It might be a teammate saying, "You could do that better." Okay. It could be a video of yourself. You watch yourself back. All this is external factors giving you feedback. So intrinsic is from within, extrinsic is from another source. So intrinsic and extrinsic feedback. Intrinsic feedback is the physical feel of a movement as it's been performed. It is what is felt by a performer as they execute a skill or performance. So we've just done this. Extrinsic feedback is provided by an external source during or after a performance. It can come from teachers, coaches, teammates, and also include things that the performer can hear or see. Knowledge of results and knowledge of performance. Knowledge of results focuses on the end of the performance or the result or outcome of the movement. For example, the performer's score, time, or position at the end will show the result of their effort. So it could be knowledge of result. In a football match, you won 2-0. That's the result. The result is 2-0. Knowledge of performance focuses on how well the athlete performed and the quality and patterns of the movement. So it could be knowledge of results, you won 2-0. Knowledge of performance, you actually didn't play very well. So the two different things can say conflicting things. We won, fantastic, but performance-wise, I wasn't very good. Or it could be the other way around. You could have lost 2-0, but you could have played fantastically well. Okay, so they can say conflicting things. So positive and negative feedback. Positive feedback is usually given by the teacher or coach when the player is praised following a successful outcome. Novices benefit a great deal from positive feedback. So positive feedback might be, "Well done, that's fantastic. Yeah, great pass." So it's that positive straight away. Negative feedback received when the movement is incorrect or unsuccessful. Negative feedback is most effective with elite performers. So if you imagine a 5-year-old playing football, if I tell him, "Oh, that's rubbish," straight away, that's not going to help him. But with a elite performer, if I can point out his weaknesses or his errors, they then can correct them very quickly. Now here's some exam questions. Have a go. So pause the video and we'll answer them in class.